Chill here with Sirius Talis Moon, and 2026 has just begun, but we have a news from 10 hours ago about the biggest the biggest bank robbers in history of Germany, and they stole millions of euro. I'm talking about bank robbers, not Robobank, which stole more. Souls of children, allegedly. Um, but this is very fascinating. Big bank robbery, and and to be honest, it surprised me. Not because I don't see it happening, but because it was just I was busy delineating other things. Sol hour, as I speak, Sol night, Sun in Capricorn, Mercury, the planets of thievery, ruling over Sedna in Gemini, beloved Sedna, um, is in 28 degrees Sagittarius, applying to square Neptune. Now, this can be a crisis where Neptune, first of all, is mystery, evasion, and liquid wealth. So they were liquidating the wealth. The biggest bank robbery because it's Mula Nakshatra and Jupiter. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Ascendant is, by the way, next to Spica in midheaven, 29 degrees Cancer, as I see it. Uh, Venus is in Capricorn. So Mercury was applying to square Neptune, and indeed it's a crisis that caused the biggest bank robbery. Okay, Jupiter exalted, the moon was going through Uranus Sedna. The moon was it opened with going through Uranus today, which I broadcasted an episode. When it went through Uranus, then it continued to Sedna, opposed Lilith in Sagittarius, and basically the moon was triggering this Mercury from Gemini and opposed and conjoined Sedna. Um, this is again, I don't know what is the motive of those who robbed the millions. Um, the square with Neptune can be that they think they got away with that, but they didn't, or that they didn't thought they could get away with that, but they did. So I'm talking about the robbers right now, not the bankers. I know it can be very confusing. Um, to be very honest, why biggest bank robbery? Like, yes, Jupiter and so on and so forth, but I don't know. It's not a Neptune Saturn meeting. Neptune is not ingressing because this is a mythical bank robbery. And and Mercury is a fast moving planet. I mean, it's there every year. So either it's one that we know of and there are others that we don't know of. Um, but Uranus 27 degrees Taurus is close to Beta Persei. Beta Persei was minima today. Okay, so we had an eclipse on Beta Persei, and that with Uranus creates an unusual event. Beta Persei also rules currency, banks, money. Again, it's the story of the woman that was very sensual and beautiful, and she was raped and not believed by the woman that was the spousey of the rapist. And this was Aphrodite. So, so Aphrodite was a bit egoistic, and she really thought that beautiful Medusa wanted the rape. Um, and then she turned the Medusa's hair into snakes, um, supposedly showing that she wanted and then Medusa was uh, decapitated, and Medusa's anger would turn people into stone. So she was decapitated, and then she was made a talisman that later went to save Andromeda from being sacrificed to the sea monster. Fascinating stories. um, and so, in terms of banking, Uranus can be a liberator of that energy that was suppressed by all this violence and decapitation and so on. And it can denote of something, in that case, shit ton of money being liberated from um, those entities where the traffic is being believed as a whore. that's and that's bankers, and so not only but sextile and secret societies. So um, and so banks lose money. Now here's the thing, because it's Uranus, it can be that the bank robbed itself. It's due diligence. Think about it. How does Swiss bank does tax evasion? For example, it can rob its own bank. It has losses. I mean, the Bank of Amsterdam had two bookkeepings, one red and one regular. Uh, in the regular, there was zero usury bank. In the red, they were taking gold and bringing silver. That was Dutch East India that got Bank of Amsterdam bankrupt and did some colonialism. Um, Sedna can denote of big treason, with Mercury ruling over Sedna. It's megalittically big treason. um, and Jupiter, ruled by the moon, retrograde. Probably they planned it when Jupiter was direct, and now it's retrograde. But by the time Jupiter goes direct on this degree, it's not impossible that um, we'll know the truth, because Jupiter is truth, about this story. So, like I said, Mercury square Neptune can be that they didn't thought they'd get away with that, but they would, or alternatively that they thought they got away with that, but they didn't. And this is. But then, if the bank stole from itself, um, maybe it tries to bail itself out of of what's coming. You think Mercury, Mula Nakshatra, and Neptune, end of Pisces. So Moon was opposing Lilith in Sag, conjoining Sedna. Lilith is opposing Sedna right now. But Sedna has to do with trade right now, and Lilith has to do with belief. So for example, Jupiter is benevolent, and for example, would be giving charity. Sedna was trafficked, and she made the food go away from the world. So, so thinking about being benevolent as opposed to this is the best word. When we're being benevolent, we have to make sure that we abolish trafficking, because otherwise um, uh, this creates conflict. Although it's Lilith, and Lilith is not opposed to Sedna's idea. Um, is that to do with the bank robbery? I don't know. Think about it. To rob a bank is way more ethical than to run an extortion cult. And all is risky. I mean, to kidnap, torture, rape people that would go into adrenaline fight. When a person has adrenaline fight, they can go into freeze, they can go into various forms, and they can also lift a truck. So, um, yes, when people fear for their lives, they have adrenaline rush, and way more ethical, because most of these banks' money was made by child and human trafficking and extortion cults, and um, stealing from a bank is way more ethical than running extortion cult. So if that was a conversation between Lilith that wants to be benevolent and Sedna that wants to be practical, then we have an understanding that whoever went to rob the bank was basically could have been even robbing their molesters in that case, and the bank will present it is as if that's the people's pensions. It's not. It's first of all, many people don't invest in the bank anymore, and secondly, that the money of the people is being reinvested. So if it goes to extortion calls, which is how they could get, for example, how Dutch East India could get the zero usury Bank of Amsterdam to have another book. It's only by extortion calls. So this happens right before the new year, culminating year 9. We say that the biggest bank robbery in the history of Germany is basically um, the most ethical act that took place in the world in a while. When you need money, like if people have the ability, if people have what it takes to kidnap a child, torture, rape, and traffic them, they better rob a bank. They better rob a bank. So people of the world, if you have to do crime, rob a bank. Don't rape, rob a bank. Don't molest, rob a bank. Don't traffic, rob a bank. Don't torture, rob a bank. Rob a bank. Yes, if you need money, uh, uh, and you try, let's say, to look for job, and job is rapey, tortury, trafficky, don't work. Rob a bank. Better, ethical, brings the money back to the survivors, the people that say no to rape. If you can rape, if you can harass, if you can do all these things, then see, I'm not likely to rob a bank because, but the people that say that they have to do crime, go rob a bank because it's in level of risk lower. Nobody's too scared for their lives. And even if you can shoot them dead, they die. You don't torture them. It's not. And you see, extortion cults, all these rape and stuff like that, they do it for the money. So, direct action, less risk. If you die by gunshot. There's no problem. Relative to if you need extortion call, then you never know when somebody can say, "Oh, we changed the script." For what the script? Now the person that was being trafficked, and they have to do it because it's extortion call. So, you say, "What? I don't know. That billionaire wanted it like that." Everybody has their own. But when you rob a bank, less life risk, way more moral. It depletes the profit of trafficking, which basically tends to the core issue regarding child and sex trafficking. No, because I was looking for something like mass murder of all rapists. Okay, what else can be done? Robbing a bank? It's, they took all the apartments in 2008. People went to traffic into organ harvesting, to the street, to death. Uh, family men killed them and the family. Not because they're a psychopath killer, but because they didn't want the children to be trafficked, the woman to be raped, and so on and so forth. And not because of honor, but because of um respect for the person that they're married with. So, um, yes, those actions are risky, but going to work knowing that it would be subprime crisis one way or another, and all of the hard work would amount to not having housing, food, and so on, more risky. Um, One could spend time in jail. That's an issue. But for human trafficking, person is counted like war criminal uh, all their lives. Um, like the Nazis, because it's also Nazi ideology is why they do that. And all traffickers are Nazis. Yes, doesn't matter what religion they wear. Um, and unless one stops being a trafficker and dedicates their lives to abolishing trafficking. Um, and there are people, ritual abuse survivors, that do that. Um, so that's an interesting thing. I don't know, the risk a person can go to jail. Yes, it's true. But then I'm not talking about people that are saying, "Oh, quit your job, rob a bank." Well, you won't have to quit your job. AI is taking over. It's gonna take your job. But if, and I'm not for doing crime either, but if somebody has no choice but to try to do crime, then rob a bank. Um, I am not a great. That's it.